Good evening and welcome to class. Today's session has promised to be an amazing one. We are going to continue from where we stopped in the last sections. We are going to be looking into how we can enter data into Microsoft Excel, which is a spreadsheet of focus in this particular class. We are also going to see how we are going to format that data and organize it for analysis and even prepare it well for further use. No doubt, we have been excited to see how far we will go in this aspect of our class. Therefore, I encourage you to please sit tight and wait as the classes unfold. This is Microsoft Excel, and over the past two classes, we've discussed how we can actually navigate through Excel in order to achieve our goal as data analysts. Every tool needed, every button needed, every control needed, every tab needed are all in place for us to use as data analysts. Now, we are going to enter some data from a dummy data set I have created, and I'm going to share my entire screen for you to see the entire data set I have created as a dummy one, which we are going to be using for analysis. So over here is the dummy data I've created that contains about 20 rows of data and just 5 columns. Same thing goes with the next dummy data, which contains about 20 rows of data and just 6 columns. We're going to be using this as dummy data to see how we can actually enter data into a spreadsheet, format that data, and organize it perfectly well prepared for future analysis. So I'm going to split my screen into two, where I have side-by-side working with Excel and the particular PDF file I have at my disposal. So permit me to split my screen into two so that you can see clearly what we are dealing with. All right. So here my screen is split into two, and I can reduce the zoom of each of these softwares for me to see what is really happening in each of them. So first, we have the first column that is called the row. The first column is the row, so I'm going to insert row by entering it into the cell A1. The next column is age. I'm using the tab key to move to the next column, age. I'm using the tab key to move to the next column, hours studied, tab key, exam score, tab key, study method. Now, I am back to row 2. Now, in row 2, I'm going to insert the individual values we have in this row. They are 1, 21, 15, 88, and group. The next is 2, 22, 10, 75, individual. 3, 20, 18, 92, group. Now, since I have a sequence of 1, 2, 3 in the row, the column called row or column A, and I'm looking at 20 rows of data, easy peasy, can just highlight row, column, and then drag down from this node, right? So this is highlighted. This shows that these cells have been highlighted, and there is a node over here that I can easily drag down to 20. So I'll drag down the node, and notice that when I'm dragging down the node, you're seeing the numbers following me as I'm doing so. So the numbers are increasing up to when I get to 20, and I'm done. So that is the easiest way for us to achieve the first column that is titled row. Now, for the next column, we can't do that because we need to specifically enter each data separately as it's supposed to be. So here I'm going to start inserting for column 4, row 4, sorry, 23, 21, 24, 22, 21, 20, 23, 22, 21, 24, 20, 23, 22, 21, 20, 24, and lastly 23. I am done with column number 2, which is the B column, and that's for age. Then over to the column 3, which is C. I'll start entering them individually as usual. 5, 12, 20, 8, 14, 7, 16, 11, 19, 6, 13, 17, 9, 18, 4, 12, 15. I'm done with column 3, which is as studied. The column 4, which is column D, start again. So 92, 65, 80, 95, 70, 85, 68, 90, 78, 93, 62, 82, 91, 73, 94, 60, 83, and lastly 87. Now notice again that there's a way we can flow with this column 5, which is for study method, and we notice that each of them follows a sequence: group, individual, group, individual, individual. So there is a mist here, and we can't say because I have group, individual, you now have to copy and paste. No, you need to follow the sequence. Right now on row 6 we have group. That means on row 5 we should maintain individual, right? Individual as a case. So we have group, individual, group again, individual. So group, individual, group again, individual, and individual. So let's have this. The next is group. Now, one thing about Excel is that while you're trying to insert a particular data value into your spreadsheet, Excel looks up the other cells in that column to see whether you have something similar in your column. If it doesn't see, then it will permit you to keep on with what you are doing. But if it sees any particular similar cell in that column, Excel tries to pull it up for you to see whether this is what you are looking for, and saves you the stress of typing it through. So notice what will happen now when I type group. Now I just type G, because in this column we have a G word that started the word, a G letter that started the word group. Excel brings other options for me, and if it's what I'm looking for, I'll easily click enter and it enters for me. Then the next is on the row 8. Row 8 is row 7, sorry. So let me not be confused. So row 1, let me just start off. Row is group, row 2 is individual, row 3 is group, row 4 is individual, row 5 individual, row 6 group, row 7 individual. Okay, row 6 is group. So we have group, individual. Just permit me to start afresh so I don't get confused. So we have group, individual, group, individual, individual, group, individual, group, individual, group, individual, group, individual. So row 14, I have individual again, individual, group, group, individual, group, group, individual. And I'm just entering GI because I already have group and individual in that column already existing in the previous cells. And that makes it easy for me to flow with what I have in the data set. Now with this, I have entered 20 rows of data in this spreadsheet. from the raw file I have it here as a dummy data, I've added it into my spreadsheet to become a spreadsheet data. But you notice again that this my dummy data is properly formatted. Every column width and column height are all cool to go with, and there's no error or any one overlapping the other. So what do I do here? I will need to do the same for this particular cells and columns I have on my spreadsheet. Now, often you see people trying to double click or double tap on the column line, because if you notice, like we said before, in each column there is a demarcating line that separates it from the next column number, right? So some persons will tend to click on this line that demarcates A from B, and also demarcates B from C, and C from D. But because we are data analysts and we are studying how to make our work effective with analysis using spreadsheets, what do? We easily highlight the entire cell that is in the data range. So the range of data we have here is A1 to E21. This is A1 and this is E21, right? Look at it in the name box here. This row, if I click on this A1 here, look at the name box A1. If I click on this, is E21, which is what you have here in the name box E21. So now the range is from A1 to what? E21. And if I want to highlight the entire data set in this data range, all I need to do is to use a shortcut key, that is Control Shift arrow right and Control Shift arrow down. So let me quickly type it for us to see. I'm going to use my draw tool to do that. So let me expand this cell because we are done with the dummy data for the first stage. So if I get my draw, let me quickly type right what I'm talking about. So this control, sorry, I'm bad at using this draw sometimes. So this is Control plus Shift key. Right, you manage me for this particular item, then plus arrow right. Now, plus arrow right means that we want to highlight from row A1 to row E1. That's Control Shift arrow right. Then we now want to highlight down the column. We now use another one, Control plus Shift. Trying to miss letters now. Plus arrow down. Right? Now I've done the first one, Control Shift arrow right. I'm going to do the next one, Control Shift arrow left. Once I do that, I will have the entire data range selected. Now that will save you the time I will have to start using my mouse to click and drag through. What if I'm working with more than 20 rows of data, like 1,000 row or 5,000 row? How will I deal with it? So the easiest way we always use to use the shortcut key, Control Shift arrow right and Control Shift arrow down. So let me clean what I just have here. Let me erase it. Let me erase them out. So let me erase them. I'm going to do that. I'm going to delete. And they are off. So I come here to delete. I'm here to delete. So some persons, like I was saying before, we want to do like this, right? And start highlighting down. This is not bad though, right? Because you have just 20 rows of data. What if you have 1,000 row, 5,000 row? So easiest way to do that is to click on the first column name and then Control Shift arrow right highlights the entire row of interest in the data range. Then arrow down highlights the entire column of interest in the data range. Once I've done this, the next thing for me to do is to format it automatically by adjusting the column width automatically and the row height automatically. To do that, I go to my home menu or the home tab. Then under the cells ribbon for the control, you see format, insert delete format. So click on format, and we have auto fit column width and auto fit row height. So these are the two buttons I'm going to click in order to achieve what we have in the dummy data PDF. So first I click on auto fit row height, and then I click on auto fit column width. Now you see it's looking very much more better than it was before. If you look at the PDF we have here, what we have here is similar to what we have here under arrangements of the data are supposed to be. Now with this, I have properly entered this data. I have also properly organized it, but I'm yet to format. Why do I say so? Because formatting involves inputting the needed data types of each of these analyses that you are going to run, or each of the data values that you have imputed. And before now, we've stated about the two types of data we have, quantitative data and qualitative data. And this quantitative data, we have the discrete and the continuous, while in the qualitative data, we have the nominal and ordinal. And from what we have in our Excel workbook, we can notice that we have those type of data in our data sets. We have the quantitative data and we have the qualitative data. And in the qualitative data, we only have a nominal data, which is group, individual, group, individual. And for the quantitative data, we only have discrete values, which are the age, the hours of study, and the exam score. One thing about a spreadsheet, even if it is a Google Sheet you are using, is that it always tells you the formats of these data types. And those formats can be seen on the Home tab under the control number ribbon. You will see the format number. Here is for formatting your data types, right? By default, we know we have quantitative and qualitative data types, nominal, ordinal, discrete, and continuous. But here is where you format it to a particular data type suitable and okay for analysis. All right. So here we are going to format each of the columns to a preferred data type. However, in general, Excel we assign them general, meaning that any value can enter. That's what the general is. And that's why over here in the number control, we are seeing general here. Right? General is what you are seeing here because Excel understands that this data set can take on any value of choice. So by default, the spreadsheet allows you to put anything you wish to put. By the end of the day, it expects you the analyst to format it according to what it is supposed to be. So here, we are going to format column B, column C, column D, and column F. You may wonder or you may ask, why are we not formatting column A? Well, the reason is because column A is a serial number. It's just like when you go to school or when you go to work and you are used to entering attendance in your workplace. You notice that there's always that row that is written S/N. S/N. Now, this row is unformatted. It's not even changing, and it can never change because everyone that comes in the company or the class must always insert his or her serial number to indicate that he was in class or he was at work during a particular set day or set. So this serial number you have in that particular sheet of paper or particular journal of choice is similar to what we have here in the row code. All right, that have row 1 to row 20. Neglect the row number that Excel is showing you in the worksheet. Neglect the row number that Excel is showing you in the worksheet. These row numbers here doesn't count when we are talking about the data we are dealing with. Another thing you need to also observe and understand as data analysis is that aside that the row column or the serial number column cannot be formatted, we are not using it for any analysis, neither are we using it for anything in our entry. Hence, we can leave it at general. But bear in mind that what you are focused on if you want to run analysis is the other rows that comes after the row header. So over here in row 1, by default, a spreadsheet row 1 is always the row header. Analysis does not occur in that row 1. What occurs in row 1 is a description of what you have in your data set. That is why without us having this row 1, we cannot determine what each of the values here signify. Now, let's say you want to hide it. So when you click on row 1 and right click, because whenever you hover over the row or in the column letters, you notice that the arrow changes to the cursor changes to arrow, right? So when you hover over, it shows that you are on a row header or column header. And when you are in between the rows and the columns, you notice that the cursor also changes to something like an anchor cross between it. Now, this is the different shapes the cursor takes in a spreadsheet. In order for you to understand a particular command you might want to take in that particular action. So here in this row header, now let's say we want to hide it. So for us to hide it, we can easily right click on the row header and click on hide. Now, as this row is, and as data set is, if you are not the one that entered it, if you are not in this class and we entered it, will you know what each of these columns represent? Obviously, you will not, because they don't have any header that signifies what the categories are all about. But because you have a row header, we are going to unhide it. So to unhide, we are going to carry our cursor in between the 2 and that line that is always bordering 1 and 2. We are going to right click on it and you see the unhide again, and the man comes out. So without us having a row header, we cannot know what each of the cells or each of the columns in this particular data set stands for. That is why it is important for us to have a row header that explains what each column stands for. And with it, we can easily know how to run our organization of data, cleaning of data, and interpretation thereafter. Hence, no analysis is meant to happen on the row head, aside the fact that you might want to do column width or row height, and possibly you want to make it bold, color it, and so on and so forth. So we're going to come to that, right? So now we want to convert or format these columns that are quantitative data, which are discrete in nature, into a normal data format in a spreadsheet. Now, how do we do that? First thing first, since all of them are quantitative data and we want to use the same kind of format for them, how do we go about it? Remember, age can never be a decimal place value. You cannot say you are 21.3 years old or you are 25.5 years old. No, it doesn't work that way. In hours of study, you cannot say you did for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Hours is a whole number on its own. So hour is hour. When we talk about minutes, we talk about time. So when we talk about hour and time, then you talk about what? Hour and minutes and seconds. We are referring to time. But when we say hours of study, we expect a whole number. Is it that 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours? An exam score from what you see in this dummy data is concentrated on those discrete data. So what we have here is entirely discrete data types under the quantitative data type. Hence, we can select all the array column B, C, and D, and then use a singular format for all of them. This is what I mean. So I'm going to click on column B. This time around, I'm not going to do Control Shift arrow right. I'm only going to do Shift arrow right twice for me to select the 3 cells in that row. Then I'm going to hold my Control now and then hold my arrow key down. With this, I selected the entire 3 columns of choice, which is column B to column D. Now, having selected these columns, I will just go straight to my number control format and I'll click on this drop down that I'm seeing general in it. This is for accounting, for percentage, and for adding comma in between numbers. Here is for decreasing, increasing, and decreasing, like we said initially, right? So I'm going to click on the drop down arrow here, and you see number, currency, accounting, short dates, long dates, time, percentage, fraction, scientific, and test. We discussed how this plays a role in analysis some time ago, where we said that all these are data formats that we can use to format our data sets in the appropriate measures or types it needs to be. So at the case of this particular data we just highlighted, the proper format it is the number. But we are seeing that there is going to be an additional 2 decimal places for us, which we don't want, because when it's now a number and you are adding 2 decimal places to it, it's no longer a normal number, it's now a float or a decimal place number. So to avoid this man coming up after we might have inserted number, what do? We can easily click on this number format here that says more number formats, or we click on the extension here to get more number formats. So either ways that you learn faster and knows how to walk around easily peasily, you can just follow it with. So I prefer clicking on this particular button, which is an extension of this particular control, showing us more for what we have. But you might say, okay, let's still go through this number format. When you go here, it brings out this particular format cells box. Let's still go with the extension. It also brings out the same box. So in other ways that you choose to have, there is no problem. So now I am in the number format cells box, and I need to only focus on the category. The category, that's my choice, right? This category is something you do here over in the number, all right? So the category I'm choosing is number, and it is giving me a sample to the places. Notice here it says, just under the sample, it says decimal places is 2. You can use a 1000 separator, which is a comma. Then for the negative numbers, we have this. So our focus is on reducing the decimal places. So we have to reduce it from here. The sample remains just a single whole number. We click OK. When that happens, you notice that this has changed from being general to number format. Before now, if we click on a particular cell, say, let me undo what we just did. If we click on cell C5 or C2 or C3 or C4 or A5, we notice that the number format is on general. But because we have formatted it to become a number data type, when we click on it now, it's no longer showing as general, it's showing as number, as you can see on this particular number format control ribbon. If you click on 21, the same thing too. If you click on the next, the same thing too, so on and so forth, they are all number data type. Now, congratulations, we have wonderfully converted our quantitative data into a discrete data type. But someone might say, oh, this is a very tedious process. What other ways can I use to make this man or these values we have here to become a whole number? Well, we can do that by simply selecting the columns again. I'm doing and redoing, right? So selecting the cells of choice again. After selecting them once again, you go to the number format and we are choosing number. Now, when we choose number, notice that those 2 decimal places have added for us, right? Which we don't want initially, and we didn't even add it initially. But since it's in this case, for us to remove the decimal places, we need to click on either of these buttons just here. This particular button that faces to the right stands for decrease decimal. This other button stands for increase decimal. So we want to decrease the decimal, and we are going to click twice. Why? Because we have 2 decimal places. We are not clicking once. So we click once, it only removes the first decimal place and leave the other one. So I'm going to click twice to remove the 2 decimal places we have or we are seeing on that particular range of data. So I'm going to click twice and it is out. Now it is back to the way we want to be, still bearing our number format, which is the format we have given to that cell. Now, after this has been done, the next is to format this column E, which is the 5th column, into text. It is also in general. Notice that we said initially that the general number format is a versatile one that you can insert any type of data value in a cell without you being penalized. But when you now are trying to organize a match data set, you ought to use a proper data type or data format. So here, we are going to format this particular column E to be a text data type. The same way we did for our previous columns, we are going to highlight down the column and then go to the number ribbon control, and we are going to choose text. So choosing text helps Excel to notice that yes, this data values is a text, and we have seen how it plays a role in our organization of data. So far, we've seen that we have converted columns B, C, and D into whole number without decimals. I've also converted column E, study method, into text. Now, let us start arranging this data set to suit our own jurisdiction. What do I mean by that? Some persons might want to leave this as it is. So as it is here now, they are done, nothing to do again. No. But the core essence of the data entry, formatting, organization is to help analysts to know how to properly format and organize this data set as it's supposed to be. Over here, the data set is properly organized and well arranged, right? And we have entered it obviously, but we need to format it to suit the taste of analysis we are trying to make. Now, to start with, we are going to focus our attention on the first row. We are going to give it a wonderful color field, then also a wonderful font color before we move on to the next cells under each of the columns. Now, like I said before, these column headers are important for us because they help us understand the descriptions of each of the columns. So I'm going to highlight the entire rows in that column headers, which is row 1, comprising of A1 to E1. So after highlighting them, I'm going to go to my font control ribbon on the home tab, and we'll see the colors of choice you can choose. So you are meant to choose any color at your jurisdiction in line with what analysis or what analysis of data you are working with. Some data industries or some industries that understand the role of data analysis in their industry always tend to have a particular brand color. So every analyst is encouraged to always use the brand color that that particular organization is working with or working for. So I'm going to use any color of my choice, and after that, I will now make this bold. Possibly, I'm going to color the text, but let's see how it's going to look like. If you color it to white, it's not going to be looking nice, right? So leave that automatic as it is, so that it can just be very well pronounced. Now, you see our data table is getting some shape. It's making some sense, right? So next is to add borders to this. Because if you go to print, also when I go to print, I have blank white sheet which does not have border or grid. No border, no grid. So for me to have a grid or insert a grid in this data, I need to go back to where I start from, which is the sheet 1. And I'm going to select everything in the data range outside the column headers. After the selection, I will still go back to my home tab under the font control ribbon. There is a border that is there for us to use in our jurisdiction. And this border is just below the bold button and also beside the fill color. So the border, I'm going to click on the drop down to choose a variety of border of choice. So I'm making use of all borders, and after I'm done, I can now go back to that print to see whether it is giving me what I want to see. And obviously, yes, it's giving us what we want to see. You can see here that we have all there is in the data set in a tabular format, but yet the column headers are not also properly formatted, because this border we added here should also be added for the column headers. So we go back to column headers, and we go to the border. This time I'm going to choose tick outside borders, or maybe only outside border, but let's go with tick outside borders because this is what a header. So let's come back to print. You see now it's looking much more better, showing the hierarchy of the data set. So this is how you organize your data in Microsoft Excel or any spreadsheet of choice. That will help you to become a good fit in analysis going forward. We have another demo, dummy data to practice with. So let's deal with the dummy data now. Let's deal with it now. So we have dummy data. Let me minimize my screen. So we have this. The next data we have is about employees. It is still the same 20 rows of data. So some persons may want to still work on this particular sheet. It's not bad. So it's your choice to continue working on this particular sheet, or you open a new sheet using the plus icon beside sheet 1. So over here, I'm going to just insert the new sheet over the new table over this end. I'm going to easily and peacefully type in this column header. So in first one is employee ID, first name, department, hire dates, salary. Now notice that, like we saw initially, while we are typing these cells, typing into these cells, we notice that not the width of the cell can be compatible with the name of the individual. So that is not a panic, right? But we have seen that this particular cell can later be formatted automatically when we are ready to organize them. So let's start typing in each of the employees' ID. So I have 101 enter, 102 enter, 103 enter. I've created a sequence, right? So like I did in the last table, we are going to highlight these 3 cells of choice, and we are going to drag. That's why I'm dragging, I have the numbers popping up on the side of my cursor. So I'm going to drag up to 120, and I'm done. So everything concerning employee ID is done. So let's start doing the first name. First person is John, Jane, Peter. Sorry about that. Mary Roberts, Susan David, Lisa James, Patricia Michael, Linda William, Elizabeth and Richard, Jessica, Thomas Nancy, Charles, and Betsy. So that's the first name of all employees in this particular dummy record. So the last name, though, Smith and James, Jones. So Jones, Brown, Davis, Miller, okay, Wilson, Moore, Taylor, Anderson, Thomas Jackson, White Harris, Clark Lewis, Hall and Young, King and right. No, I always like to have this there. Fine. So these are the employees' first name, last name, and employee ID. Let us insert their departments one after the other. Remember, this is the you are doing, right? Sales, marketing, engineering. HR, sales, marketing, engineering, HR, sales, marketing, engineering, HR, sales, marketing, engineering, HR again, sales, marketing. Oh, I think I've missed one. Oh, wow. Sales, marketing, engineering, HR, sales, marketing, engineering, HR, sales, marketing, engineering, HR, sales, marketing, engineering. Okay. That's right. Then HR, sales, marketing, engineering, and HR. So what happened to right? We have done a mistake here. Let's see where the mistake comes from. So Doe, Smith, Jones, Brown, Davis. So this is Davis. I can go to the formula bar over here to correct that. So Davis, Miller, Wilson, Moore, Taylor, Anderson, Jackson. Okay. So here is the issue. There should be Thomas and then followed by Jackson. So I wrote them together. That way you have that error coming up. So I'm going to paste Jackson here. After Jackson, I have White. Afterwards, I have Harris. White. After Jackson, White. Afterwards, Harris. After Harris, Clark and Lewis. Clark, Lewis. After then, Paul, Young, King, and White. So you see, data entry is not an easy task. Neither is it funny to go by, because we all know what we are doing. We are not going to fidget, right? So next column of focus in this particular employee data will be the hire dates, right? So this hire date is going to be tentative because my local is coded and updated with Nigerian WAT time. So another person's own is different too. So while I'm going to enter this hire dates, notice how Excel spreadsheet is going to work around it. So 2021 March 15. I think how it's changed for me. 15th March 2022 because my local is Nigerian WAT West Africa. So 2020 07 22. To say adjust it. 2019 11 01. 2022 01 10. Then 2021. So I'm going to be using Scribble on my PDF to understand where I am and where I've been placed. So let me just use Scribble, able to Scribble, because actually my eyes is telling me because of too many numbers to focus on. So 10, 1. So this is where we just finished. Fine. Let's continue. 2021 May 20th. 2020 September 15th. And next is 2018 April 30th. Next 2022 March 5th. Next is 2021 August 12, 2021 August 12, 2020 December 1st, 2020 December 1st, 2017 April 20, June 25th, 2017 0625, 2023 0218. So it's 2017 0625, followed by 2023 0218, and 2021 1001, 2021 1001. So allow me again to use a scribble, 2021 1001 to mark here. So I will know my progress. The next is 2020 0414. Next is 2019 0228. Okay, 2022 0515. 2021 01 2020, 2020 0608, and 2018 0911, and the last 2023 0704. Finally, we are done. For this particular date, we are done. We still have more ways to go for salary, right? Now I see that entering data is not easy. It's not easy to run data entry, but it's easier for you to format and analyze data, preparing it for analysis than entering the data. So this little one I've done now, my is already done. Imagine when it is about 1,000 rows of data. It's a big deal, right? So all these individuals who love doing manual, they are really trying a lot, right? So 60,000, 68,000, 70,000, then 95,000, 62,000, 67,000, 75,000, 10,000, 105,000, 61,000, 61,000, 69,000, 73,000, 88,000, 63,000, 66,000, 74,000, 92,000, lastly 64,000. The entire row of data. So we are very happy that we have started all this, right? Now let us properly format it as supposed to be. And to do that, I will have to share the screen of this book one only, so you can see it properly, right? So I'm going to close this dummy data and focus on our Excel spreadsheet. So funny enough, sometimes if you are to, if I'm working on this, you might see what I'm doing on, but let's see how it goes. I believe it's visible now. So like we did on this first step that we have here, which we have formatted and organized carefully, we still need to do this for this one, right? So who remembers what's the first thing to do since we have entered the data into our cells and column choice? Let me ask us this question. Who remembers what is the first thing to do as we have entered this data in this particular sheet? What's the first thing we must do? before doing the next. You can unmute and say something if you remember what's the next thing to do. Precious, Francis, etc. Don't remember the next to do after we have entered the data. There is this particular thing that we must do while we are working on the data. All right, so since we don't remember, let me remind us. So the first thing we must do after we must have entered the data is to automatically fit the column width and column height. Automatically fit the column width and column height. And for us to do that, we must highlight the entire data range. And the first data range we had from the first table we have worked on starts from A2 and ended in E21. This table now starts from start from A1 and ended in E21. That's the range of data. And this one we are working on now with the second table, we start from J1 and ends in O21. So we're going to select all and then apply the editing. How do you do that? Like I said initially, when you want to highlight a entire range of data, Control-Shift, arrow right, and then arrow down. It will highlight the entire cell of choice, which includes everything you want to know about your table, data, and its range. So after highlighting all this, we need to go to the Home tab. Notice that I said in the previous class session, I will introduce us to my Excel interface. We said that the Home tab is always a go-to when it comes to formatting data, right? And we've seen that we've not entered in any other tab so far while we are working on this data organization and entry. So we'll go to the cells control ribbon format, auto fit row height, and auto fit column width. That is what we are going with. All right. Now with this, we have expanded this table to look like what we have in the previous table. So after we are done with this, the next thing we want to do is to convert each particular column into its equivalent data type. Now, by default, like we said, Excel will assign its data types or data formats to them. And that data format is assigned is what? General. All right? General. But notice now that in the date column, that's the higher date, column N, because we used that method of ending the dates, the Excel spreadsheet automatically saw this as a date column. So each cell in this column N is all formatted as date data. So we don't need to format this any longer. We only need to focus on formatting column K and M, through M, and then column O. So as usual, since column K, L, and M are test data, which are qualitative in nature, and we want to format them at will, we have to select the three of them at the same time in order to apply the measure we use while working on column B through D. So I will highlight that of first name, last name, and department down the column. And then I'll go to our number control ribbon and choose what? Tests. So I'm looking to choosing tests. Yeah. So test is just the last. I wonder why I sometimes forgot to scroll down to the last. So we have changed these data types or data formats towards test. Before it was in general, like we noticed. Here is already formatted automatically today because of the method we use to type in the data values. Now the next column of interest is the salary column. So I'm going to highlight it, and it is in dollars. Not that these names are dummy names and they are not Nigerian names at all, they are all foreign names. So it's salary is in dollars, right? Now, someone might be tempted to go to this particular number here for the accounting number format. And when you click on it, you see different currency matrix: the dollar, the pounds, the euros, the Chinese yen, and the Switzerland franc, as the case may be. But we are not going to use this because this is basically for accounting. Look at what we mean. When we use accounting now, let's United States, do you see that our metric symbol is moved to the top left-hand side, and we have extra two places accrued to us as the salary choice. And that is because this particular column was marked to become accounting. Now notice here, accounting, right? Accounting. But we don't want to format it as accounting. We want to format this as a currency, being dollar. So what do? I will undo the action and I will go to currency here. I know that my currency here bears NAS sign because my system local is coded with West African time, like I said initially. So to adjust this man here, there are two ways we can do that. To make it easy for you, you just have to go to the extension, which is this button over here. That's the extension. That's what I call extension. So click on this extension and easily drag your format cells box to the other side of your screen. Then click on currency for the category. Notice that it's acting the same way that we saw when we are trying to convert the general data types of columns B through D into a number. So since we've chosen currency, this is what we have. At the end of the day, we do only decimal places because what we have are whole number integers, right? So reduce the decimal place to 0. Then look at symbol. Symbol we're looking for is dollar, not Nigerian naira. So click on the symbol and we scroll down to look English United States, right? That's what I'm choosing. And when that is done, the symbol from the sample here, you can say sample has changed to what? Dollar, which is the usual way it's supposed to be. Then click OK. Now you see that unlike the accounting data format we used before, this data matrix symbol did not move to the left and then the values move to the right. Rather, it was together as if it's attached to the particular cell or the value that follows it. And this is how it's easier for you to format a particular column data into currency, right? And the column now is currency. You click on any of the cells in the column, it was currency, properly formatted at will. So something we did here, we are going to do here. Now, what do we mean? What I mean is that I'm going to use what is called a format painter to save me the stress of trying to highlight and start using colors and the kind of color we want. What do I need to do? All I need to do is to come to this entire cell here, highlight all of them, and then click on this paint brush on the home tab. This paint brush, click on it. This paint brush is to help you to format painter. It is easy for you to use it to format your data type to suit what you already have from existing format data types. So you click on the format painter, it copies every format that is here. I'm going to click on any of the cells in this column that you're working with, right? Either on the column employee ID, column K, down to column N, O is my choice. So what I'm going to do is just because I know where I want to start, I'll start with clicking on column employee ID 101. So I click on that. This is what happens. It has taken the format from the previous table to the new table. Wonderful, right? But it makes salary because salary is the 6th column. And over here, you only have 5 columns from A to E. So that's why salary was seemingly like it was omitted. So let's just add for salary the way we add normally. We're going to select all and then click on the border or borders. So we are good now. We have equal data. And now we want to format the header. So I'm going to click on the headers and highlight them. Then same thing I did initially, click on the format painter for the paintbrush and come to the first row we have here. Just click on any of the column in that row for instance, employee ID, and the format goes straight to the others. Now, because salary was not an additional column we have here, what we're going to do is to still click on maybe the hire date or the last name or employee ID. Either of them is good by us. So we can click on hire date, for instance, and choose a format painter over here. Then click on salary to format it at will. So you see how we can easily format data set into whatever feature of what we are looking at. If I should go to file and maybe go to print, you see that I have pages of data for me. This is a page 1 and this is what's the page 2, because I have tables in different sides of the page. Now, what do you call page? This break you're seeing here between Q and R, there's a break, a thin dash line in between Q and R down the column. This is a page break. I'm working with just one sheet, but inside one sheet you can have about 12 pages inside one sheet. So this page break came because we were trying to print to see how the print will look like before we continue formatting. That was why we had that particular page break. So this is you doing data entry, organizing your data, and formatting it. Let us save our work. As usual, we go to File, click on Save As, and I want to save it in our folder. The folder we are using for this particular analysis. To browse, and I'm going to look into the folder. So let's see what we have. Documents. So that's our folder here, Mdth got 4 data sets folder. So I'm going to double click to open. I'm going to name it 2 data entry formatting and organization. So that's what I want to name it as, right? And after typing the name, save as what? Excel workbook, and just click save. And it saves the name here for us too, data entry, formatting, and organization of data. So this is how we format data and organize data as analysts in order to make it ready for our analysis to be run on it. In our next call tomorrow, we are going to be looking into how we can run some basic statistics functions in this particular data we have. The 2 dummy data are very well okay, and we can run statistics functions in them. And that introduces us to Excel functions and formulas. Please, do you have any question on this class? Please ask so that we can answer your questions before we say bye-bye to us for today.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening, Francis. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So my question is coming from that salary. When you labeled this thing, I want to understand what is it. I understood the currency aspect, but I want to know which case scenario do you use that accounting, because it can
Okay,
be easily
fine. I love that question. The case scenario that will lead us to use the accounting. So let's say you're working with the financial data. For instance, data that comes from banking sector or a financial institute. The most popular financial institute we have in Nigeria is MoneyPoint. And one of the popular banks, conventional banks we have in Nigeria is First Bank, aside other banks we have. So their kind of data sets comes as an accounting data types. And the particular objective you are focused on can also determine how you can format that particular data to be like, most especially when it comes to anything that deals with money. So, for instance, like a salesman also deals with money, right? Likewise, a health industry, because at the end of the day, we all want to make money. So now, if the objective of my analysis or my entry of data is that at the end of the day, a financial analyst who is going to do balancing of sheets on the accounting ledger will use it. I must format my data type to be in accounting. But if it is in general that it is not an accountant that is dealing with the data set, neither is it anything about accounting ledgers or closing sheets or open sheets like they used to do at the end of the month or at the beginning of the month, I am at jurisdiction to use the currency data type. So this is a case scenario that you find yourself trying to format the data into a specified currency type, whether it's accounting or the usual currency that all of us know.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. So thank you very much for that question. Precious and XYZ. Precious, do you have any question? Please, you can ask us.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Please, I've not.
How is your health? Let me ask. I think your network is so bridgy. Yeah, network has cut out. So it's fine. We continue from tomorrow. So I'm going to schedule. Okay, she's back. So you can unmute and
Hello, can you hear
continue.
me?
Yes, loud and clear now.
Yeah, I've missed the class a couple of times due to poor network and other things. So I won't say I'm not following big rapid. With time, I will get to understand everything. Maybe before the next class. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate your tenacity, even though network is kicking you out. Likewise, the other fellow who is with us too. Network has been messing around with a lot of persons these days, and they are sending messages to us telling us we should not be angry. It's fine. We can deal with them. So that is that from our end. So tomorrow we continue to see how we can run statistical analysis on spreadsheets using functions and formulas, which will usher us into functions and formulas in Excel. Please, we have sent 2 documents for you to read. Try to make time to read all of them at your spare time. They are very important because remember, you have an assessment which is already down for the week. Okay, so those things you read from your readings will be used for the assessments and other things discussed in class as well. And for this particular week and the following week, there's a folder I shared with us for us to download it and practice along with us when we start practicing. So please do the same. So have a wonderful night's rest and see you tomorrow. Same time, same venue. Bye. Good night.